Welcome to the Needy and Normal podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Levering, mom, wife, and life coach. After hours of coaching and learning from my own life, one thing is clear: meeting your needs is essential for a better life. Here, we'll talk about your needs and not only learn to accept them, but also tend to them without guilt. Let's get needy. Today is October 31st. Happy Halloween. I like today. I like this holiday. I think it's fun. I love that there's literally no other holiday like it. And right now, as I'm talking to you, it is like 80 degrees outside. We've got the fall colors and leaves falling everywhere. And this time of year in Wisconsin, it should be chilly. It should be, 40s and 50s during the day, dropping to the 30s and even the 20s by now. It's just crazy how typically it gets cold so fast. And yet we have been holding on for dear life to our warm weather. And I don't hate it, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a California girl, lived in Texas. I didn't know cold weather until my husband and I, as boyfriend and girlfriend, moved to Missouri long ago. If you want to hear all of that fun stuff, go back to the early episodes. The kids don't have school tomorrow, which is rare. Rarely do we get to go trick-or-treating and not have to hustle home and not eat too much candy and go to bed and be ready for the next day to go to school. This year's different. And they're just old enough now that I want them to really just take the night. I want them to trick or treat and have so much fun and not feel the pressures of hurry up, get in bed, we gotta go to school tomorrow. So I'm very excited for that. I like trick or treating. I like the concept. I think it's fun. I like traditions. And in our neighborhood, we're really lucky. We have very good friends that live around the corner and just down the street. And it's easy for us to kind of bounce around to each other's houses and actually come together and trick-or-treat together. In fact, in 2020, it must have been 2020, or maybe it was the following year, 2021, but I'm pretty sure it was still in 2020. We were like, screw it, we can be outside, we're going trick-or-treating. And I remember hardly anybody was doing anything for trick-or-treating, understandably, but there was, that was when the tubes from your porch people were creating so they didn't have to come near you or touch you, or they would wear masks and gloves and hand out candy anyways. There was not that many people doing it, but there was enough. I think we looked weirder. Well, of course, you hear people cutting their lawns because it's a beautiful day. So sorry if you can hear that. But of course, so we looked weird because we were this mob of, parents and kids all in costume just out trick-or-treating as if the world hadn't stopped, because we had gotten to that point where we were like, screw it. Like, we have to do something. Let's try and keep it going. And so because that was a tradition we started, I think the year or two before, we just wanted to do it. So it's continued, and this year I'm excited. We always stop at each other's houses. There's only about 3 or 4 of us, families in the neighborhood, and we will have some kind of tradition. Like, one house is where we start. At our house, we typically have a dance party on the lawn. Somebody has the after party. Like, we're really having a good time with it, and the kids just have a great time. They get along. And it's just super fun. And I think this is the first year I won't have to take the wagon for when my daughter's like, I don't want to walk anymore. So we're definitely transitioning into a very cool time. And I'm excited. I love it. I have to share, my son thinks he's real funny. And actually, he really is. I told him I was going to go as a mombi, and just wear like a robe and put on like light powder makeup and just look really tired, make my hair crazy and hold a cup of coffee or something. And he thought he was real funny. He goes, well, Mom, you just gotta go trick-or-treating in the morning. Like, in my brain, I'm like, you little But also, I was so impressed, I had to laugh. I'm like, dude, that was clever, really funny. Ha ha. 10-year-old. He's not wrong. I mean, I was pretty scary, early on. The days, moms, where you're really not sleeping and you fly out of bed and try and take on the world and you just are disheveled. I'm disheveled. But anyway, so I'm going to bring back the Mombi. And I don't know, maybe I'll go all out and make it look kind of bloody and scary. The kids are a little less spooked now that they're getting older, so that's kind of fun. Anyways, what are your Halloween traditions? What are you doing? Have you already gone trick-or-treating? Do you go to parties? Are you of the grown-up age where you don't have small humans to chase after and you can do some fun things? I'm also in charge of making a special drink. I think I'm going to do like an apple cider, like an adult apple cider of sorts. And then we'll have some kid things too. But anyways, it's fun. I don't know if that's like a Midwest thing, but I'm really looking forward to it. So happy Halloween. If you've already gone and done all the fun stuff, then, happy Thursday. This episode's going to be a little different because I'm going to tell you a scary story. Get comfortable. Be safe while you're driving. If you're about to go to bed, hopefully you can still sleep. This one deserves some airtime. Back when my husband and I lived in Springfield, Missouri, I had a job in the alumni department at Drury University. It's a small school. I think it's a private school. Bob Barker went there. Look it up. That's kind of a fun claim to fame. I worked in this building. It was a house, an old house. And a lot of these college campuses that don't have all the big fancy buildings, they use homes as buildings for different departments or even dorms or whatever. So it's not the most unusual setup. But in this house, this is a big house, right? It's 2 or 3 floors. There's a basement, and they really made use of it. And there's plenty of offices. And it was a really lovely place to work. Big windows. It was right on the corner. I worked there for about 1.5 years because, in baseball life, things change. We were coming up on our alumni reunion weekend. And when I worked there, I was the alumni event coordinator. That was my job. And I had to plan all the events for the alums. I had some help, but I was pretty much a solo show. I had to do it all myself, and I was always very proud of that. And the alumni reunion weekend was probably the biggest because there was multiple events over several days. So I was working real hard to try and get everything organized, put everything together, set up all the venues, order all the food, coordinate the timing, make sure everything was just done. I mean, if you've thrown a party of any kind, there's multiple pieces. When you have hundreds of people to manage and all the things logistics wise, it's a lot. But anyways, I thrived on it. I loved it. This is pre having children. And actually, I think we got engaged while I was working there. So this is a while ago. Okay. But I was busting my ass. I was working really hard. And there was one Friday night, and I had last minute things that I had to get done. And I asked for the key to the house because I knew I was going to end up working late. And I think we were already in baseball season, so I knew Jeff he was either on the road or just at the stadium, and he wouldn't be home at a reasonable hour. So I figured, you know what, I will just go ahead and get my work done, and then I'll feel better about the weekend. About 5 o'clock, everybody's going home, and I kept working. Slowly but surely, an hour went by, and it was empty. It was just me in the building. And it started to get dark. And I was so focused that I really wasn't paying attention to anything around me. Well, all of a sudden, I hear the elevator, which was right outside of my office. I'll try and give you a visual. So if you come out of my office, to the right, kind of tucked behind you, is the front door. To the left is a long hallway. Directly in front of you is the elevator, and just to the right of the elevator was the staircase. And then there's another hallway going the other way into the foyer where I decorated the Christmas tree every year. The one year I was there. But there's the picture. Okay, so probably about 10, 15 feet between myself and the elevator, and I hear it ding. Like someone had come up to it and pushed the button. Now, a detail I didn't tell you quite yet, dear listener, is that the elevator was broken. Granted, it was only 2 floors, but we didn't have an elevator for several days. They were having the hardest time getting this elevator working again. So when I heard the ding, I thought, oh my gosh, this elevator is such an issue. Not my problem. I had to stay focused. I just figured it was just being wacky because it's a broken elevator. Well, then it dings again. And so I look. And all of a sudden, I see the numbers because it says B for basement 1, 2. The numbers go up. It goes from 1 to 2. And then I hear it ding again and it goes back down. They must be resetting it or updating the system or something. I just was being reasonable in my brain, not thinking anything of it. So I go back to work. I know at this point I've got to get all this data. I have all this data to input. I didn't want to be distracted, but again, I hear it ding. And again, I see the numbers go up. And this time I see them go all the way back down. And then the doors open. I'm still trying to convince myself that this elevator is just going nuts because it's broken. But then as the doors close again, and it seems to be fine and normal again, I hear footsteps, the floor above me, going back and forth, and they started speeding up like a run, back and forth and back and forth. Now I think I'm crazy. And at the tail end of one of the back and forth sounds I'm hearing of these little footsteps upstairs, I hear children giggle. Now, I'm a mom. I have kids. They don't typically freak me out. But the sound of children giggling at the end of running footsteps is scary. So now my heart starts racing. I'm completely distracted. I can't even pay attention. I'm hearing running. There's children laughing. The elevator's going crazy. And in my brain, I finally click. I'm like, you know what? Fine, I give. Maybe it's kid ghosts playing with the elevator, running around upstairs, and giggling. Nobody was in the building but me. But I started giving into this thought. I'm like, geez, maybe this is like really happening. I mean, it's an old house. It's been around since the 1800s. I knew that. And then it all stopped. I took a deep breath. My heart calmed down. Oh my gosh. So then I started reasoning with myself again. Maybe I am really just tired and I'm hearing things. Wouldn't you do that too? So I focus again. I probably had another 25 minutes where I was able to get things done. Some people at this point would have been like, excuse me, why didn't you just leave? I don't know. Mind over matter? I don't know. Maybe I was just trying to be brave, or convincing myself I'm hearing things, I'm tired, I just have to get this done and I can go home. So after a bit of time goes by, I hear footsteps again. But this time, they're right outside my door. So of course my heart starts beating again. I can't even see what's in front of me. I'm so distracted. My brain just starts to go to goo. And I have to stand up and I have to look. So I peek my head out my door and there's nothing. There's nothing there. Everything's dead quiet. I even did one of those hello? Hello? Anyone there? I go to the edge of the stairs. I kind of raise my voice up the stairs and I say, hello? Is anyone there? Dead quiet. I literally shook my head. Okay, everything's fine. Get it together, Ash. You have 15 more minutes of work. You can do it. So I go back in my office. I sit down. I'm trying really hard to focus. And I hear the footsteps again. So I stand up slowly. I walk to my door. Before I even stick my head out, I close my eyes really tight and take a huge deep breath because now I'm actually freaked out. And I poke my head out. And at the very end of the hall, to the left of my door, I see what appears to be an apparition, a see-through man, who looks like a soldier just casually walk by. I shut down my computer, I get my shit, and I get out of there. I was done. And as I'm driving home, I'm thinking to myself, did the elevator just go nuts? Did I really just hear footsteps and running and children laughing? Did I just see a ghost? I'm speaking out loud to myself. I tend to do that. I couldn't believe it. So I go home. I go to bed. I get up. I came back to the office the next day or the next week after the weekend. I can't remember exactly the timing, but I remember feeling like I had to be super brave to confess that this had happened to even one of my coworkers. So I talked to one of my coworkers who I feel awful. I don't even remember who it was, but I remember it was someone who had been there for a long time. And I said, "What is up with this building? I was hearing all kinds of stuff last night." So I kind of just sprinkled it out there. I didn't tell all the details yet. And the person who I was talking to just said, "Oh God, this building is so old. It's probably haunted. It used to be a frat house a long time ago, and the fraternity guys would always report seeing stuff and hearing things, and nobody ever believed them because, they're partying and having fun and they just think they're being silly. But then when it became an office building, there were other people who had mentioned noticing things or hearing things. So apparently there was this unspoken story that this house was indeed a little haunted." So then she's telling me all these details, and I'm thinking, like, fine, I'm just going to tell you what happened last night. Please don't think I'm crazy. So I'm telling her the story just like I told you. And when I told her the part where I stuck my head out and I swear I saw a soldier walk by, she goes, "Oh yeah, that's Mel. He's been here for years. People have been seeing him. That's Mel." First of all, I was in shock, and also I was like, oh my God, thank God, it's not just me. But how about that? So I felt very validated in that moment. But it was very scary, and I hope I never see Mel again. Okay? Do you have a scary story? Have you ever seen a ghost? So that's my story. It is true. It still freaks me out and gives me chills to this day. And I wanted to share it with you. So whatever you do during spooky season, take this little story with you. Have fun. Be safe. And I'll leave you with this. There are all kinds of things out there that will scare you. Literally scare you, like a ghost. Choices that you have to make, people that you do not want to be around. There's all kinds of chances that are scary to take. But let me tell you this. I developed this quote totally by accident while I was coaching a past client of mine. She was very nervous about doing something that she really wanted to do, but it scared her. And I said, fear is an indicator, not a direction. Very often when we're scared of something, we go in the other direction instead of right to it, right towards it. But what is your fear telling you? So my parting advice on this spooky day is, if you're spooked by something, if something scares you, if there's a fear hanging over you when it comes to doing something or saying something, consider this. Visit with that fear. Question it. Be curious about it. Explore it. Discover it. Understand it. Fear can tell us so much about what we're avoiding, or what meaning we're attaching to something that maybe doesn't need that meaning attached to it. Maybe there is some logical explanation Maybe there is an emotion that's attached to it that actually isn't serving you any longer. So visit with your fear. Fear is an indicator, not a direction. So take that with you. And remember, your needs matter because you matter. Take care. And happy Halloween! Thank you for listening to this spooky edition of the Needy and Normal podcast. If you're curious about coaching together, visit ablifecoaching.com. And on my website, there's a free resource, your 7-step formula to moving through a life transition with more confidence. And available now, you can also purchase your own 1-hour life assessment session. And before you go, thanks for leaving me a rating and a review. It would mean the world to me. See you next week.